one.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Wow, look at those graphics.
I like the new graphic. What am I doing? Warp factor 5 there, Captain. What's
Look at
going on?
you.
Well, you know, you're a bit of a Trekky, which you can't say in Holland because that means something completely different.
That's
Yes,
it.
he's a
Yeah.
bit of a Trekkie. He wears a jacket with an emblem of Star Trek on every one of his videos.
I wear it all the time, mate.
I
wear it
know.
all the time. I mean, when I'm out and about, people are like, "What is that? What is that? What's that badge?"
Well, a Trekkie in Holland would be somebody who regularly masturbates. So
Oh,
there you
really?
go.
You
Well,
know,
how do you know he's not a Trekkie?
you know this. You know, I do these short videos, these fact files. Did you know videos? So
Yeah.
without giving too much away, the next one that's going to come out, I just finished editing it. I think it's going to come out this Friday, and it's
Is that
about
Hollywood? Is that Hollywood Friday? Is that,
No, it's set. It's going to come out Friday, and it's about rude car names. It's when car names didn't quite translate. So that's when you said Trekky. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what that video is about. Is when certain names didn't quite work out, and so they had to change the names a little bit. So yeah, that's what that's going to be about. That's coming out on Friday.
The funny thing is, we stumbled upon some really old Amazon show about history of Playboy, and which and I sat and watching. It's actually as a business show, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, right.
But they took the name from a car. Yeah, I mean, they took the name from a car.
Well, Playboy
was a car manufacturer
Really?
in the US. And one of the partners, they were going to call it.
I'm digging through the archives in my head, and I can't think of what car was called Playboy.
Yeah, they were originally going to call it. Well, it's an advert now for Playboy. They originally going to call it Stag Party, and then they got a letter just like a week or so before they were about to do their first edition from Stag something or other, some redneck gun shooting magazine. And said, well, we can't use that. And so they were just thinking around. And one of the guys that was working with Hefner at the time, because there was only like 3 or 4, they were just all friends. And he said, well, I think my mum used to work for a car dealer or a little independent car company. And they had a car company. It was called Playboy.
Oh, wow.
And so that's...
He's searching it right now. What are you kidding? He's looking for it right now.
I've never heard of this before. I'm like,
wait a minute. So when you do this
show, the Playboy Motor Car Corporation of Buffalo, New York.
Wow. Thank you.
49. It lasts.
I am so thrilled. I know something about cars that brown car guy.
Isn't that amazing?
Can we make that on a short that goes on forever?
We'll make that. Yes, we will make a short out of that.
So according to an episode of Biography, this is what you were talking about. Hugh Hefner, Playboy activist and rebel. A woman who worked for Playboy Motor Cars at the time, they shut down, suggested to her son's friend that they use the Playboy name for his new magazine. And the friend's name was Hugh Hefner. So, well done. You're absolutely right. But this car company, I don't know if they actually made any cars. They did.
They did. I saw a photo of a car, so it does.
I don't know if you can see that, but there you go.
Oh, hold on. Let's do a close-up. So let's get you the solo. There you go. There's the Playboy.
And who would not want to own that now, eh?
Yeah,
I know, right?
See, every Playboy in town wants to be seen in.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, you know what's really funny when you talk about the names, and I know we don't want to talk about cars too much. So the only thing I always remember about a bad car name was the Cordoba had the Corinthian leather. That when it translated into Portuguese or whatever, it meant soft ass.
That was what's his name? That was
Ricardo Montalban.
Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban was like the Cordoba. It's beautiful and it's just Corinthian leather.
But apparently, there's no such thing as Corinthian leather.
No, they made it up. Good for Lee Iacocca and Chrysler. Thank God for him. So
It just sounded really good when he said it. And it was just like, let's just call it fine Corinthian leather. And it was like, whoa, I want some of that Corinthian leather.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
And then I guess when they translated it, I want to say it was either in I think it was Portuguese, because I think in Brazil when they translated it, it meant, like I said, soft ass. So people were like, he would be talking and be like, how would you like have a Cordoba with a soft ass? And they're like, what?
Right, but actually that's perfect, because you want to sit.
Yeah,
I don't know. You want to sit
I think the Dutch bank, Rabobank, that Rabo, they call it Rabo in the UK, but the Rabobank, I think that means something like arse or something in Portuguese.
Oh my God.
In Brazilian, so that's another unfortunate.
That's Portuguese. That is Portuguese. The Brazilians speak Portuguese.
Yeah, but it's sort of a form of Portuguese, a Brazilian Portuguese. So it's what crazy names that people use for stuff.
No, it's crazy. No, but this is the thing. This is why what's happening now in the automotive industry is that so many manufacturers, they just call cars by letters and numbers, because that's the easy way out now. 350L, whatever. Just do that.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't think that's fun. I think names were cool.
No.
Names were fun.
Yeah.
And if they did mean something,
Matador.
that just adds to the allure. That's just funnier.
Well, when I was a kid, you may remember AMC, right? American Motor Corp, which now became Jeep, and then I don't know who they are this week. But anyway, I remember when I was a kid, there was the Matador, the Gremlin, the Ambassador, and I'd be like, my neighbor had a Matador, my mom had a Gremlin, and I will tell you, the Gremlin was the coolest car ever. I was in LA a couple months ago. And sounds pretentious, but I don't care. My driver was driving and he goes, look at that. And I'm like, look at what? And there was a Gremlin. And I was like, awesome. Like I would love to buy a Gremlin. I mean, they were built.
They can't be that expensive now.
Can I just throw something in the group there? Because I mean, I was always, should we say, I was always talking about how Peugeots were designed by people in the dark with crayons, but they all seem to have moved now to the Jeep company, because if you look at the new Jeeps, I mean, what are they all blind people in there? What's the matter with that? Get a couple of crayons out. We'll do some of this.
Well, it's the same company. It's the same company anyway, because it's all part of the Stellantis group, which covers everything. Jeep, all the same now. And all the modern cars, Alfa Romeo. So if you look at, I mean, again, without getting too much into cars, but I did a video recently about what's happened to Alfa Romeo. It hasn't been hit with the ugly stick, because they released a small SUV, which they initially called Milano, I think they called it. And then somebody had a hissy fit about the fact that you were making a car with an Italian name, but you were going to make it in Spain. And they said, no, you can't do that. And apparently somebody made up a law. So they've quickly done a U-turn, and they've now called it the Junior. So now it's called the Alfa Romeo Junior, which is weird.
That's crazy.
I preferred Milano, but the car itself.
But who's going to buy a car called Junior? Hey, Junior, get the Junior. I mean, what's all that about? What are these people?
That's not a great name, is it? I mean, but it's all become part of the same thing. That's the same company. They've tried. So what's happened with that Alfa Romeo is that because it has this very generic Stellantis group styling for an EV, they've tried to they've gone overboard with trying to give it an alpha face, and they put like a massive grill on it. And what they've done is they've sort of carved they've actually cut the original logo. So the logo of what is it, the cross and the man being eaten by a serpent, that Alfa Romeo logo. You actually cut it into the actual grill itself, and it just looks terrible. And
basically, there's no crayons to be had on Amazon anymore, because they all seem to be bought up by people who are designing cars.
And they're not designing cars. They're not. They're just putting them into I hate to say this, hope AI isn't listening, but they're just putting into an AI program and going, right, now make one of these with an alpha badge. Right now, make one of these with a Citroen badge. Now make one of these with a Jeep badge. That's what's happening. So it's quite.
Well, we did promise never to talk about cars on your show.
Yeah, I know, because we talk about cars.
But I mean,
panel.
The cap's a bit of a giveaway. But
I am drinking in your honor as we're traveling at warp speed towards that 100,000 subscribers that you are surely A2, having congratulations.
Thank you.
Extraordinary 70,000 subs. Whoa.
Yes.
Well done, guys. That's incredible.
Thank you. And listen, it's you help us. You help us, my friend. You help us. So we were talking about in the green room for everybody is we were talking about that we on Monday or Tuesday we got a thing from our analytics company that says congratulations, you have 70,000 subscribers. We were at 70,300. And then we know how YouTube is and people dropping off. So this morning we had 69,992. So we're eight away again from 70,000. So we're probably going to get another certificate. Goes, congratulations, you hit it again. Sure.
Yeah.
So our thing was,
but that happens, and I think this is what a lot of people don't understand. And again, like people watching this on YouTube may not think that that's a big number because they go to channels which have got millions of subscribers or whatever.
It's not a big number, is it? Really?
No, it is.
In
YouTube world. But when you're working on your channel. And then every single subscriber matters, and every single little landmark really makes a difference. And only that content creator or creators can actually comprehend what is taken. The hard work, the effort, the investment, the dedication, the time, the sweat, the blood, the tears, the fights at home, the arguments, what is all taken to get that extra 100, that extra 1,000, that extra 10,000 subscribers. So getting 70,000, oh my God, that is a massive achievement, and especially in the short space of time that you've done it, which is extraordinary.
And we also have to thank you because you did an interview with us over a year ago.
Thank him? Oh yes, we do. Sorry, we do have to.
I have to because when he sent me the book, there was a check in.
Oh, what the book? The
book,
Phantom book,
the book that you've never seen. Yes, it has no pictures. But anyway,
it doesn't have pictures in it. No,
that has no. The next is a coloring book, David. You'll get that one. I'll get you the crayons. But anyway, when
sold out, mate, on Amazon, can't buy them.
When he did our first interview, I think maybe we had 700, if we were lucky, subscribers. Probably less.
Wow.
Yeah. We were hoping you were going to bring some subscribers to us, which is why we thought we'd better interview you. You were more famous. You were famous then.
You're still famous.
Back then.
Wow. Thanks, Dave. That was like insulting our guests. You're the best.
Did that one slip out? I'm so sorry.
The truth often will come out, won't it? But
it was famouser then.
I was famous.
Famouser. Is that word?
But to be honest, it's like that's just blown my mind to think about. I mean, that must have been 2 years ago or something.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. 700, and now we're sitting on 70,000. I mean, that's tremendous. I mean, that's no taking anything away from you guys. That's incredible. I mean, that level of growth. I mean, so in that time, I have probably gained maybe between 15 and 20,000 in that time.
That's excellent. That's cool. I know what that takes.
Compared to like 70,000. I mean, that's incredible. So I know. So again, as a content creator, I know what that takes, to see you hit 70,000 is just. Yeah.
But you've got a real job, Shazad. That's the difference.
No, man, I just do what you guys do.
That's what we do. He sits around, looks pretty all day. But no, the difference is though on our channel to your channel. Your channel is cars.
All about you.
All about you. But I watch his stuff. It's like I said, we were joking with him before the show. He's got, and I was saying, it's like it's one about you can't go over 20 kilometers now. He says, like my old Jewish grandfather, wow, I can't drive so fast. I mean, but he's got friends from Pakistan. They're doing this. I mean, your channel is, I love it. But our channel is, we've got 20 plus shows. And granted, we're on a handful of them, but we've got people that do shows that we're not on. And we're like, for the people in the UK, the BBC, and for America, we're like, I don't know, whatever television, HBO. So it's like you can go to our playlist and it's like, oh, I want to watch Sermon from the German with Brown Car Guy, and you don't want to watch it. Great. And our numbers reflect that because our shows individually get like between 2,500 and 10,000 views. And our shorts, though, get 400 or 500 up to like 20,000, which our shorts are just, we get more subscribers from our shorts, I'm finding, than from some of the shows, but they find the shows through the shorts because, with the analytics, you can follow all that.
That doesn't translate well in the UK, by the way. Statements like we get lots of subscribers through our shorts.
I mean, well,
I mean that doesn't, and basically, Stephen, you are rude. you're rude to everybody and
Yeah.
and rude to Trump, and of course, people just love that. It's like
No,
waving,
there's two
waving
things.
a rag.
There's two things that we have to say. First of
I
all,
get subscribers through my trousers. Can I
get
say that?
shorts and trousers. Just leave it there. Let's just not go any
Yes.
further. But anyway, there's two things there. First of all, is that I'm sure you do the same as I do. We watch lots of videos from online gurus, YouTube gurus that tell you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. You guys actually buck the trend because everything they tell you not to do is what you guys are doing, because what they all talk about is like following this one thing, following the one thread, going down that one thread and hitting the same thing over and over and over and over again. And you guys are not doing that because, like you said, there's such a diversity of content. You're literally like a TV channel. There's so many different things on there. And to an extent, you're proving that they're all wrong and that you're right and that actually that does work. And to an extent, I kind of, within the sphere of automotive, I kind of do the same thing because, again, people have said that to me. It's like, oh, just focus on classics or just focus on reviews or just focus on the political stuff or just focus, And I'm like, no, I cover everything to do with it.
No, yeah, that's why your channel is
last weekend. I'm doing a car review this week and I'm going to a protest next weekend. So, it could, anything, so that's how it should be, right?
I mean, that's the reason why your channel is really interesting to watch, because it's not vanilla. I mean, like you say, it's just like, okay, there's just one thing. Maybe it's just more about the viewer than, the type of viewer. I just want to know about cars. I want to know how fast it goes, how much petrol it uses, gasoline, sorry, for those people in the US. And that's it. And they're not interested in the world around it and what that particular vehicle may or may do or represent, and you go down so many different rabbit holes. And that's what makes it fascinating.
And the thing is, some of those rabbit hole videos are the ones that actually end up doing well. It's funny because I was saying the other day to somebody, and he was like, go and review this car or go and do this event, and I was like, well, I have to really think about these things because I have to think about where I can get the most views. And sometimes you create these videos, and you'll know the same thing. Is like you may have gone to somewhere and reviewed a special car that would have been a day out. You would have spent a lot of money getting there. You would have spent a lot of time, effort. You might have had somebody helping you. All of that effort, you put the video up, and then you wait, and then you just get tumbleweed. And that's kind of what happens, And then the other hand, I grab my GoPro on a stick. I take a 30-minute walk around the block here. I ran into the GoPro and I hit 20,000 views. So I mean, It's like, so you start to think, well, where should I be putting my efforts, in terms of return on that?
The Smoking Tire, I know, Matt Farrow's channel, and I like Matt. I watch him. I used to watch him all the time, and now I'm a little busier, so I watch specific shows.
I watched all of his one takes. The Smoking Tire one takes.
Yeah, they're great. I love those.
I watched all of them. They were great.
But he told a story once. I forget. I want to, and I'm going to say Porsche. And if it's not, I apologize, Matt. Come on the show, correct us. I don't care. But he said that Porsche said, "Come drive a car." So he's like, oh, so they put you on a plane, you go out for the day, you drive around, and then you come home. And him and his partner's mind, they're like, this is going to get 50 million views. This is going to make us, he said, that video that they thought was going to get 50, got like tumbleweeds, like you said, got like 20,000 views, and that was it. And I don't think what people realize, because there's so much on YouTube. Some of it's professionally done, not like ours. Ours is, it is what it is. But I don't think they realize that, and that people on YouTube that watch don't realize there's something there for you. You just have to find it. Like when people when they started to find our channel, the comments we would get like, this is really cool because nobody wants to watch David and I. Like, I get that, right? But we have a business show. We have you on this one, which is kind of like an ad hoc subject, which we like.
You have 70,000 people that want to watch you regularly, so that's pretty good.
Well, they watch something regularly. I don't know if it's always us.
But to your point, I think you're absolutely right. And as you mentioned earlier, the rabbit hole scenario, I think it's the rabbit holes that actually get the viewers, because the content that you can't find is the content that will make you stand out. And I think that because you have such a diversity of different types of content, going down all of these different rabbit holes is how you can pull together all these desperate audiences. I say desperate and desperate in both senses. but that's, I think, is the key, because, again, like you say, with the car review with Matt Farrow, he was probably flown and away, and he did this massive launch, and he came back. But the thing is, that would have been an international launch that a whole bunch of other people, top-level YouTubers and magazines and outlets would have done the same thing. And by the time he put up his, and I have the same situation, by the time he put up his video, they would have already have got all of the SEO stuff done. At which point his video comes out, 50 million, and there's a roll up there. And I have the same. So again, you have to think. But sometimes even when you get offered a car for review, you're like, well, I don't think I'm going to get the numbers on it because 50 million people have already reviewed this car.
And you get guys like Shmee, and Shmee and Stradman come out. He doesn't really review cards, but you get Shmee who reviews something, and everybody has an embargo. But it seems for some reason Shmee and JW or whatever, they seem to be like they have their embargo seems to end 12 hours before everybody else, because it'll be like they'll be talking about this embargo, and I'm like, but it's right there. It's
the embargo, and I have actually experienced this myself because I've had these embargo notices. And the embargo notices, look, in the past, so when we had print media, when I used to be a magazine editor, you'd get embargoes. You would get them. You always had them, but you would get a print embargo. So you know that you write, okay, I'm going to run the story in next month's issue because that would be okay. Everybody else will do the same. Right. What's happening now is because of the immediacy of content, because the moment you've got it, bang, it's on the internet. Right. And when they have these top tier influencers, like you say, like the Shmees and the Supercar Blondies and the Mr. JWWs, whatever, then what I think is now happening is that the dictate for the embargo is not coming from the client. It's not coming from the manufacturer or the client, whatever. It's actually coming from them. I think that what's happening is that they're saying, right, we're going to cover this for you. And plus, they're probably paying them as well, because this is the other. Whereas numpties like me would get invited by a manufacturer and we'd just be happy to go there. We'd just be like, woohoo, thank you. We're being treated nicely and all the rest of it. These guys, when they get an invite, they send an invoice. That's the first thing they do. They send an invoice. Oh, wow. So so not only do they get an invite and then get treated like VIPs and then get first dibs at the car, but they've also been paid. So now all of a sudden you have a manufacturer who has paid this top tier influencer to come to their event and to cover their car. Now the top tier influencer says, well, if you want me to do that, I'm doing it because you've paid me. But if you want me to get maximum traction, you have to separate my content to the others by at least 12 hours. And I think that that's what's actually happening. So it's not only the embargoes that are coming from manufacturers, it's the embargoes that are then being reimposed back onto them by their preferred top tier content creators, which again puts the rest of us at a disadvantage. So again, like, what do we do then? Well, we have to go down those rabbit holes.
Yeah, and I think
and that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, because this is all came about by accident, because we started to interview different people right back at the get-go, and then some of them said, "Well, can we come back on again?" And then they would start to diverse a little bit from what they were doing, and so quite by accident. Steve and I were having this conversation, and so, well, blimey, it's almost jokingly we said, "Oh, it's almost as if we're sort of creating a channel." Yeah. So so that was the next sort of mental challenge. Well, that sounds like a good idea. Rupert Murdoch did it, so let's go and do it. Why not?
It worked out all right for him, didn't it? And again, I think that the point is that not putting all your eggs in one basket, because you cover everything from business to arts to cars to cigars with my buddy Reza, whatever. So, there's such a diversity of content that, if this thing doesn't work, this might work, or if that doesn't work, that might catch, so, it's a good way of doing it. I think it's a good approach. Some people might say it's a scattergun approach, but sometimes that works, right?
But we're still at a stage where everything seems to be, there are little peaks and little troughs across the portfolio, but we're still at a stage where nothing has gone stratospheric.
Right. We get some shorts once in a while, but we have to thank you for a lot of stuff. I mean, we talk a lot off air about stuff. And we exchange ideas about, oh, you should try this, do this. You like in the AI, when we were using AI, you're like, oh, I'm going to try that. Right. So, and you having the Supercar channel or the car review, you give us your car reviews and we repurpose them and they do well. So, and then you also introduced us to the Habana's host, Rizzo. And now every Saturday morning, he and I are in your tuxedos, which we were last week for James Bond or whatever it might be. And we do a show with Scotch and cigars, which I love because for me it's 6 a.m, so I'm happy.
It's just a hobby. That is just the ultimate hobby for you.
Yeah, for me. Yes, I was just going to say.
Never too early then for a glass or two, is it?
Hey, listen. Here's how I look at this, and for the people that have not seen the Habana show, basically Scotch and Cigar is a food group. So for me, it's breakfast. So we're good.
Yeah.
I think on the last show, I joked with him. I said, one of my neighbors saw me with a scotch, and he says, "Is this your first drink of the morning?" And I said, "Only in my left hand." So, I mean, I was like, we're good. So it's one of those things. But you brought a lot to us, and we learned a lot from you. But, we've asked other people, they don't want to come. And I'm like, we'll work with people who will help us grow. But everybody that comes is fascinating.
But I think this is the thing. I think that it's a mutual arena. It's not. I mean, you're saying you learn from me, but no, I learn from you guys, and I learn from the others. And I learn from. Right. And I think this is how it has to be, because I think that because this is such a new platform and it's such a new medium, and it's a medium that unlike media of the past, where if you had print, there were rules of print. And if you obeyed the rules of print, you knew that was going to work. And they never really changed. The trouble with this new form of media that we have is that it's ever changing. It never really kind of, there's never really a fixed point in time. As soon as you think you figured out one aspect of it, that aspect has now changed into something else. The algorithm has changed, or YouTube has changed, or one social media platform's gone up and the other one's gone down. It's constantly moving. So the trouble with this form of media, unlike all of the ones that we've gone, and believe me, I've been around long enough to have worked on the others as well, is that you're constantly grappling with it, because you're constantly having to learn, because it's constantly changing and it's constantly evolving. So if anybody's sitting out there going, "I'm the guru, I figured it out," you're lying. It's not possible.
This week you figured it out. Next week you won't. What I learned from you though is what I learned from you is, and I mean this in a good way, repetition, 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 which means shorts. So we have an AI program now, I'll tell you about it off air, that runs our shorts.
Right.
So we use AI now to do shorts because we're not that smart. And we have a girl who still does shorts because she'll pick up things that won't. So we have two different programs that do shorts. So we literally now put out, not so much on Instagram because we don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. We've got a couple hundred. So we'll put out maybe a short every day on Instagram. But on YouTube, we'll put out anywhere from 3 to 10 shorts a day.
Yeah.
And what we find is that as someone at YouTube in the algorithm department must like us, because a couple of them will get a couple thousand, and then every now and then we get one that gets like 10,000. So what we found is it really is repetition. It's like you have to flood it with content. And the fact that AI does it, and it takes a minute then to post it, and it takes a minute for AI to write it for us, we're like the smartest guys in the room right now. But I'm sure that'll change.
But then again, 10,000. What's that in
nothing?
YouTube
I'm aware, but to us, it's a lot.
It's to be fair,
it's a splinter in a box of matches, isn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, David, you're right. You got a point, but at the same time, as individual content creators, there's a lot. I mean, like I said, some videos I'll put up, I may not even hit 100 views on it. And other videos I'll put up, we'll go 20,000, 35,000, whatever, So it varies so much. So every single view counts, as we said at the beginning of this. But the other thing is that what you mentioned there, AI, and I think this is the other good thing, is that I think all of us here have been ready to embrace AI. I think there's still a lot of discussion. There's a lot of talk about, but I've always seen AI as basically all the tools that we've had in the past. So when we had WordPress, when we had Microsoft Word, all of a sudden you didn't have to use an electric typewriter. I still remember using a manual typewriter. I still remember when I started freelancing, I used a manual typewriter. Then I bought myself a Casio electric typewriter. Remember those with the printout and stuff. And then we moved to computers, and then we moved to Microsoft Word,
Right.
And then
for me, it was like the desktop publishing was the thing.
Desktop publishing.
I thought, wow, what's all that about? Yeah. You can actually make stuff.
And what's happened within the world of newspapers, for example, and I can tell you this from personal experience, because when I started, the newspapers were still being, you still had to cut the things out and paste them up and then send that off to the printers, right? And then this was all a specialist thing. So old newspaper newsrooms would be constructed in circles so that the copy would start at the outer desk and then work its way into the inner desk by getting subbed and edited and refined, and then from there go to production, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you look at a modern newspaper newsroom, journalists are sitting and putting content directly onto the page, because they all have GTP software. So all of that process has been cut out and it's going directly onto the page, And I think that when you have things like Grammarly and stuff like that, I mean, I'm notoriously bad at proofreading my own stuff. I've worked in editorial departments. I've been editor of other magazines. I can always proofread other people's stuff, but proofing your own I've always found really, really hard. Now you have things like Grammarly. And you just go, oh, great. So before I go send an article off, let me just run it through Grammarly. Oh, right. I didn't catch that. Catch that. Bang, bang, bang. Done. Send it off. Editor at the other end is happy because he's now had to have less work to do. because he's like, oh, good copy, put it straight in.
Right.
So, so people that are afraid of these tools, I think it's a big mistake, because as these tools are there, the idea is then to understand the tools and to start using them. And the same goes for AI. And by the way, with AI, the best thing is to start using them now and to get the best out of them, because at some point they're going to be using us. So that's what's going to happen. That transition is going to happen. So whilst we still have a chance, make the most of it.
How
it's interesting. It's interesting what you're saying about that you are actually doing all the work. I mean, I think when I was 14 or 15, we went to a newspaper in Ipswich.
They had newspapers back then?
They had then, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They just
stone tablets.
Did you, when you say newspaper, you mean the guy with the chisel on the stone going?
No. I was just at the cusp when we were sort of blowing ink onto our hands.
Okay, well, the printer, the Gutenham printer back in 14 something. I got it.
Yeah, the
okay.
printer. And that was a real revelation for me then. And he said, well, look, we're always looking for news. Everybody thinks that we're a newspaper, we've got news. Everybody's looking for it. And so he said, well, if ever you want to get anything in the newspaper, make sure that you write it up first and send it to us, because journalists are all basically lazy and they just copy and paste it. Now, then, as you said, then came desktop publishing. That's exactly what we want to do with 2OF Entertainment. We say, if you've already got content, give it to us. We will publish it. Right. But that's a message that people are either scared of or don't understand. I mean, you've been incredibly generous by supplying us with stuff to recycle and to bring out with a different jacket on.
But again, it's a throwback to previous generation of media, because especially when you go back to print media. So say, for example, car magazines, and I've experienced this myself. Actually, no, even forget that. Let me go back to Saudi Arabia at the very beginning of my career, and I used to work on a newspaper called Saudi Gazette, and Saudi Gazette. And then I moved to a newspaper called Arab News. And these were the two main English daily newspapers in Saudi Arabia at the time. And I remember working, when I moved to Arab News, the editor there was quite a big personality. And every now and then, he would fly off the handle because the rival newspaper had got a scoop or had got a story that he didn't get. Now, when you think about it today, you think, well, what's the big deal? Why is that so important? Because back in the day, you knew that you were competing for those 2 riyals for that reader. So that reader was either going to buy a Saudi Gazette that morning, or he was going to buy an Arab News that morning. He wasn't going to buy both. That was the problem. And this is why you were so territorial about your content, because you were competing for the 2 riyals, the 2 dirhams, the 2 quid, the $2, whatever it was, a dime or whatever. You were competing for that. And again, with car magazines, if you didn't get the scoop, if Car Magazine didn't get the scoop, then Top Gear might get the scoop, and then they would sell more copies. You were literally fighting for that. What has changed is that now we're in this digital platform. That doesn't matter anymore, because the consumer, the reader, the content consumer is not paying for that content, essentially. They're getting it for free. And in fact, what's happening is that the more content is spread around the internet. So now, we go back to the scenario that I talked about earlier with the car coming out and the top tier level getting all the reviews. Now, again, for a manufacturer, they don't want just one of them to do that, because, say they give the car to Supercar Blondie. And they go, right, well, Supercar Blondie will do it because she's one of the biggest YouTubers out there. But there's a whole lot of hate for Supercar Blondie. There's a whole load of people that absolutely detest her. So the manufacturers, there you go. So the manufacturer, that person, I'm going to do that.
I've never heard of her. So what does that say?
There you go. So they can spread it amongst those people, because they don't really care, because they're still going to get all of those eyeballs. They're still going to get all those views. They're still going to get all those people. Oh, wow, you have gone supersonic. That's awesome. But the point is that now being able to spread the content, being able to share the content and generate the links and getting cross traffic, I think it's a whole different way of playing the game. And I think that people don't understand that, are basically stagnating.
Well, I have a question for you.
There's a lot of pushback on that. Sorry, there's a lot of pushback, really. I'll do a shout out here. If you've got content, please contact us, because we'll put it on the channel. We're desperate for more content, but you still get this sort of, oh, it's mine, it's all mine. What are you going to do with it? Sort of attitude.
Well, here's the other thing. Well, here's the other thing, David. Is like some of the content that I've given you, I think it's actually got more views on your channel than it got on my channel. So from my point of view, I'm like, well, that's good, because that suddenly put my face in front of a whole bunch of viewers that may not have seen my original content.
Exactly.
And if it sparks some kind of curiosity, they go, who is this brown car guy? Oh, let me Google it. Oh, my goodness, look at all this content he's got. Do you know what I mean? Then that's like, hey, that's a win.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how we look at it.
Yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
love it. But here's my question, and I know we don't want to talk about cars, so it's kind of a car thing, but it's really a YouTube thing. So Supercar Blondie and DeMuro,
Doug
and I
DeMuro,
think
yeah.
there's another one, right? They all now have auction sites. So my question to you: are you going to do an auction site, or are you going to just because I mean I forced you into writing a book. Do I need to force you into an auction site now? You know, the brown car guy auction site, or what do you
No, I
think?
don't think so. No, Doug DeMuro, I don't think he has an auction site. I think he works alongside
No,
them.
no, he started that auction site.
Oh, he started it. Oh, I
He
see. Oh,
started
wow.
it and he sold a percentage of it for like $80 million.
Wow. Oh, okay. Fine.
And then after that happened, all of a sudden, I noticed Supercar Blondie just came out with an auction site. And I was like, well, apparently I know what she's trying to do.
I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
Supercar Blondie doing an auction site. I do know that Doug DeMuro does that stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I don't
Bids.
I don't think that's
Cars
a
and
win.
bids.
I don't
Yeah,
think that's
no?
a win really, because I think that ultimately if you already have that channel, so like over
Right.
here we've got like CarWow in the UK.
Okay. Yeah, I like CarWow.
And CarWow, but the main business of CarWow actually is buying and selling cars, and the media side was basically created as a marketing arm that then became so big that it kind of overshadowed the original thing. But that was actually the business model. So I think that if you have that business model, then that's fine. But I'm not into buying and selling cars. I never have been, and I never will be. I'm not a trader. So that's not going to happen. But I think that there's always opportunities. Once again, this is something for you guys to look at. Once you start to get to that volume of viewership and that volume of traffic and that volume of subscribers, suddenly you open yourself up to all kinds of possibilities. I was a guest on another YouTuber here in the UK, Jeff Buys Cars. And I guested on his channel, and I was watching the video on his channel, and I noticed that underneath that he's got a shop. He's got I think he's got over 100,000 subs, and he's got a shop that comes up. And I was like, wow. So I looked into the shop, and it's like, yeah, if you hit 50K, you get certain advantages. If you hit say 100K, you get other advantages. And I think that that's the thing. I think that when you start to build your platforms up to that level, then suddenly you open up more revenue options. So suddenly you can sell merch, and you can sell other products, and hopefully sell a few books, things like that. So I think that's the way to look at it. I don't think that you particularly need to go into an auction site or anything like that, but certainly it does open itself to other opportunities. There's also the aspect of just pure, like I mentioned earlier, making your money as an influencer. And some of these influencers, I think it's something like, I think they charge about £100 per 1,000 subs.
Okay.
So, for example, like if you got 70,000 subs, my math is terrible. So if you have to post somebody from a client, you could charge them $7,000 or something. I think something like that. So straight away. So it's like, wow.
But here's what's really funny though. We have an analytics program that says what we should charge based on viewership and analytics, and basically it's $14.50 a spot. And a couple weeks ago,
at the moment.
The way our channel is at the moment, it's social analytics or whatever it's called. There's an app. It watches our stuff. We did get free earbuds from a Chinese company that asked if we would promote it.
Did they say? Did you send them? Did you get yours?
I got mine, and the shows that you weren't on purposely. We used them, and I was like, these are really great. We gave all the details. I don't know if they sold any or not. They didn't give us a code. We told them where to go get them and what they're. So we get like these freebies, and because now of Havana Nights, if you will, with Riz, I had a humidor company say, would you guys like humidors and talk about it? And I'm like, of course we would. We're cigar guys. It's like, so we're getting a lot of the freebie stuff.
Happen, and this is an opportunity. But I'm like really quite bad at that, because I'm just not good at selling stuff or doing this sort of stuff. I'm not good at setting up these deals and stuff like that. Really, there needs to be like another person to do that.
Let the Jew do it for you. You just give it to me. I'll take it. You say, listen, my business manager, the Jew, is going to negotiate, and I'll take care of it for you.
The thing is, you started up. I must be pretty crap at it as well, because I've had nothing for my cigar smoking habit. I've had nothing for my Scotch drinking habit. Evidently, I don't have any ears. Or people in the US, people in the US don't know where the Netherlands is, so they can't put a package in the post. Famous authors don't send me. Famous authors don't.
You still haven't got
famous authors. Let me finish. Famous authors don't send me. So not wishing to be racist by in any way, shape, or form, but the Jew does seem to be doing it a lot better than me. Just saying, just putting it in there.
But here's like I said, I mean, again, even at 27,000 subs that I've got, I should be able to charge people. But here's how ridiculous I am. So I still approach everything in a journalistic sense. So last year, I had a couple of videos that did really, really well. And in those videos, what I did is I took an air quality meter around London. And the idea was that I wanted to test the quality of the air because we were racing towards ULEZ and they were telling us that the air is killing us. So I thought, okay, I want to go and measure the air. So I contacted this company that builds these devices. And I told them, I said, look, I'm planning to do this thing. This is my idea. This is what I want to do. A, can one of your devices do this? And B, could you lend me one? That's all I said. Like a borrow a car. I said, can you lend me one? And they came back to me and they said, yes, absolutely, it does it, and we'll send it to you. And we're not lending it to you; it's yours. Okay, fine. And then I did the video, and the video went up, and they saw how well it did, and then they contacted me and they said, look, we're going to give you a discount code, and we'll put that in there as well, so that you can tell your people that your viewers that there's a discount code. And I think I made a couple of £100 off that because actually quite a lot of people did buy that. But like I said, here's the idiot in me never actually thought of that. It was only the goodness of that company that then actually said,
no, we would have thought of that. We would have been right on right.
Do you know what the problem is? The problem with that deal, of course, is all the other people who saw it and didn't buy one are all dead. They've all died of of all the bad air, all the bad air in London, so they don't need it anymore.
No, only if you ride the underground, apparently, because the air outside is absolutely fine. But if you go on the underground, get yourself one of those big World War II gas masks.
I was just going to say, you should whoever sells those, contact Brown Car Guys, give a discount code, and everyone will wear that. But no, so what happens when people contact us? I copy David on my reply because I figured David should
well, that's technically just rubbing salt in the wound. But
listen, I like to think of it as professional courtesy, but to your point, yes. But I said to the earbud people, I said, one of our other hosts happens to be in the Netherlands.
Has ears.
Well, I didn't say you had
funny
ears.
Coincidence.
What a coincidence. I didn't say you had ears. That was the problem. And it was a Chinese company. I said, here you go, send it to that. And then all of a sudden, so we promoted it on Lost Dollar and a couple other shows. So then on Lost Dollar, one of the hosts goes, I didn't get earbuds. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I have to now ask when somebody says, do you want earbuds? I have to get them from 937 of our hosts. I said, I think they just sent them to me. I'm promoting them. I'm sorry. So the cigar one, I wrote back to them and I said, there's two of us. One's in London, one's in the US. And that was last week. I'm still waiting to see what they want to do. But it's sort of like, and I laugh because the analytics is like $14.50. So I said to David, I said, okay, so we do 2 spots on a show. We'll charge him $14. But if somebody wants to be on every show with a spot, we'll charge him $100 for the month. And I'm like, that's a steal.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That it is a steal because that's what I'm saying. Because according to the figures that I saw, if it's $100 or £100 per 1,000 subs, then you should be looking just to even mention that thing on your show. You can charge $7,000 for it.
Right, I know. But see, we're starting out still in my mind. We're not at the point.
And of course, all the marketing people are saying, "Well, but it's not on every show, is it?
Yeah.
It's like different people doing
That's
different
what the marketing
stuff."
people say, but then the advertising people say something. This is the art of advertising. Can I use the word bullshitters? Because they are so good at it. Oh.
I can't believe you used the word advertisers.
No, I can't. I'm pretty shocked at that. Yeah,
I have to go to the mosque now and pray penance.
And pray. I was just going to say.
Bar of soap works. The bar of soap works.
But the thing is like this, when I used to work in a publishing house, like we would constantly, with the advertising department and the editorial department, we'd always be like this because we'd be saying, look, this is a story, this is what we're doing. And the advertiser, no, we're going to say this, we're going to say that, we're going to tell them this. I'm like, you can't say that. Oh, well, we've already told them that. I'm like, what the heck, but that's how they work. And that's how they get, $10,000 per page in the magazine, which I could never do, And I think that's the difference between the mindset and the mentality and the approach. So like you and I are sitting here going, oh, $7,000 is what we're worth, but we're a bit shy about asking for that. It seems a bit much. Whereas an advertising guy would go in there.
I don't think Steven's
Do you
shy about asking for that.
1,000, you know.
That's right. I was gonna say an advertising guy would be like, listen, we really should be getting 25,000. I'm gonna do it for 7.
Yeah.
I don't see why you don't see why this is.
Yeah.
It's, you know what's really funny? It's no indifferent than in investment banking. We're doing a deal, and we did an evaluation, and because it's kind of a new co, the valuation comes out to say at $111 million. So we have to discount that. So we said to the sovereign wealth fund, we're going to discount you down to 39 million, but because we like you, we're going to give you your buy-in at 30 million, right? So this is like everyone knows the game. And it's no different than in advertising, right? It's the same type of, like, we know this is worth this, but we're going to do it at this. My whole thing, like as I told David, and by the way, if anybody wants to advertise on Brown Car Guy and you don't want to ask him, come to the Jew and then we'll negotiate a deal. But anyway, I said to David,
we'll sort out the percentages later.
Yeah. Your family, so it's a very easy split. It's 99-1. You'll enjoy the 1%. Anyway, so but it's kind of like I just, as the channel grows, at some point as your channel, it finds that it's full-time audience, right? Because you know the analytics you get on Tuesday that we all look at to see new subscribers and come, like our returning contestants is now 50-50 to new contestants. Yeah. So I'm like, this is good. So I think as we grow this year, next year, when someone says, do you want to do something with us? I don't have the balls to do it now, but I think next year it'd be like, yeah, but here's what we can, like, we're solidified as for lack of a better term,
here's what we can do for you. Yeah, here's what we can do for you.
And you're already there, though. I think you have a cult following like no other. Like we have a merch page, you have a merch page. So I think people know it. I think it's just, we're not like a Joe Rogan where I can't go out to dinner. You know what I mean? Like Adam on the Eve was joking.
I think, I'd like to think that this is where, people of our maturity, shall I say?
Yes.
We bring
how are you?
We bring a certain level of experience and credibility and authority to what we do. So I mean, any kid with a camera can pick up and go to a car event and talk about the cars. But then when I tell people, like, this is my 35th year as a motoring journalist across Europe, the Middle East, and South Asia, then I think that brings a certain level of credence to it. It's a different level.
What I love about your review, Shazelle, is it's very conversational.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly factual as well. So I'm just, okay. So it's just like I'm walking with you.
Yeah.
And you just you're not saying, oh, I know all this thing about the car and you don't.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because that's what I go for.
It certainly works for me.
That's and throughout, and even before video, to be honest, even when it was purely writing and stuff like that, and that's what I've always tried to do, because even in magazine writing and stuff like that, there is a tendency for a lot of motoring journalists to patronize their audience, because they're like, oh, I'm an engineer and I know so much about cars, and by the way, I bet you didn't know this and you did. And I'm like, dude, why are you patronizing people? You should be communicating with people the way you're talking to. I mean, I don't go to a pub, but if you're talking to somebody down a pub or in a cafe, that's how it should be. That's the conversation. That's the interaction. So again, when I'm doing the videos, I'm glad to hear you say that, because my aim is to make you feel like you're just along with me for the ride, and I'm just telling you what I think of the car. That's how it should be. That's exactly how it should be. But also, when I review a car, there's this other tendency that a lot of motoring journalists have, is they jump in a car and they want to drive it at 10/10. Like every single car, what's it like on the limit? Oh, I understeer, all the braking, the steering correction. I'm like, bullshit. Nobody cares, People want to know, can they get me to
the thing is, I can't do that, can I? When I go and test drive that car.
No. Where can you drive like that anyway? I have a big argument with another journalist friend who does that with every single car, even if it's an SUV. I'm like, first of all, nobody has the skills that you have. Even I don't have that guy has, because he's a race instructor. And secondly, there's nowhere where anybody can drive like that, especially not in a country like the UK. Dubai may be different, because there were some roads where I know you can go and let loose. Right. But also you have to look at the car. If you look at a family SUV, then forget about driving it. The family doesn't really care what it drives like. Is it easy to drive? Yes, it is. That's all they want to know. What they
And
want
is it safe?
has it got space? Has it got
Yep.
comfort? Has it got all the features that I need? Can I Bluetooth my phone? Is it
Yep.
stereo nice? Can I put the car seat in? You know, can I fit all the shopping in? Can I get the dog in? You know, that's what they want to know. You know, that's what you need to focus.
But that's a car for me. That's a car review because they're the questions. They're the questions when you come home and say, "Honey, I've just spent 50 grand."
Yeah.
You know,
50 grand. What kind of car are you buying?
That's a city runabout now. 50 grand.
Yeah, you got to add a 1 in front of that before it's. I will say something about your car reviews that I do like. It's like I'm with a mate.
I just did a car review for 50 grand, and you just bumped that. So where does that leave me?
No, but I mean, it's very nice because he does a car review. Like I was saying to someone, I said, when I watch your stuff, and it was a friend of mine, and he goes, I've never heard of him. So he started to watch it because I love it. I go, right. It's like you're hanging out with a mate. He goes, yeah, it's like it's like when we talk about cars, he's like, it's the same thing. It's not pretentious. It's not this. It's not that. I said, but it's very cool. It's just like one of those things. And your reviews are, to David's point, exactly spot on because it's what a real person wants to know is. I actually looked at a supercar a few years ago because I wrote to the reviewer, like Jamie something. He was doing a 458 Ferrari. And I said, Jamie, I need to know how tall you are. I literally wrote him an email. I need to know how tall you are because he had headroom. Yeah. And he said he was 5'10" and I'm 6'1". And I said, I could fit. And he's a big guy. And he had room. And I was like, oh, there's a car I can fit in, you know? So I like when somebody reviews a car and says, or anything, and says, especially because if you're worried about height and you're like, I'm so-and-so and I'm this tall, even though it sounds dumb, but guys like me that are tall, I get it. And you know what I mean?
And you will have noticed in every single review, I've always said that. Whenever there's if it's a passenger car and I sit in the back, I always say I'm 6'2", I got long legs. And also because the body shape is important as well.
Yes.
Because some people are longer in the torso than they are in the legs. So so sometimes the leg space is less of an issue. Even if you are 6'2", it might be less of an issue because
correct.
No, well, my good lady, she's got incredibly long legs, and virtually every car is an issue. We go into a car showroom. We were there having our car service, and the guy said, well, just wait while I have a look around, sit in a few cars, he said jokingly. I said, okay, we'll go and see. Let's say we'll 15 cars in the showroom. She fitted into one.
Yeah.
And the biggest problems that she had were in the electric cars because they look really tall and really chunky. So you think, oh, you can get in it, but the floors are really deep because of all the batteries. So she had her knees were up. She thought, I got my knees that are up here. I'm steering like this.
This is why you'll always see me when I sit in the back of a car. You'll always see me look at my foot space as well, because what's happening with the electric cars is that your foot's getting wedged underneath the seat in front of you because there's space. Whereas before you used to have a proper footwell where you'd have plenty of room. But now because the floor is raised and because they're trying to give the illusion of there being enough space in the car, they're putting the seats as low as they possibly can. So what's happening is your foot and then ends up wedged underneath the foot in front of you, underneath the seat in front of you. So these are things that, like, you know, these are just practical everyday things. And like you say, the idea is to just talk to people. You know, like you said, like you're just talking to a friend and you say, will this car work for you? And sometimes,
but how do the manufacturers feel about statements like that though? Because it's not like whoopie-doopie-doo, come and buy me, is it?
No, because the thing is, I tend to look at the end of the day, there are journalists that think it's their moral duty to criticize every single car. I've never felt like that because at the end of the day, I've always been a car lover. I'm always a car fan. My initial approach is always hoping that every single car is going to be brilliant. That's always my initial approach. I will approach every single car that way. And if there are certain issues with the car, I'll always bring them up. But overall, I'm always going to be positive about it. My key thing is not deliberately to try and knock a car down or to knock a manufacturer down or do anything. My key thing is to go, does this car suit you? Right car for the right person, the right situation. And this car might not be suitable for your individual needs. And I think that's fine. Whereas for somebody else, it might be perfect. You know, and I think this is where every car has a good point and a bad point, because not one car suits all. You know, different cars are for different people and different reasons, different circumstances. Even with EVs, the big argument at the moment with EVs. So we all know Reza.
Yes.
She has a Toyota Aygo, and I think she puts like 500 miles max on it in a year. That's it. You know, drives to the shops and back, and that's it. And so many times, it's a petrol Aygo. And I've told him, for example, I said, you are the perfect customer for an EV. Because you have a house, you have a drive, you can install a home charger. You just keep that thing plugged in and just use it for the 10 miles that you need to use it for. You don't even have to charge it that much. Your motoring costs will go down to nothing, you know.
Yeah.
you have to look at individual circumstances. Whereas somebody else living in an apartment with off-street parking, or no off-street parking, I would say, don't buy an electric car because it isn't going to work for you. So for me, it's not about the car being good or bad. So I'm not criticizing the car. I'm looking at the scenario and whether that scenario would meet the sort of person that maybe the manufacturer is looking at as a customer.
I like that. But see, you're the rare breed that does that. But then if there's something goofy about the car, you'll also say it. I just like your personality. And I like when we do sermon on the German. And for the people that are just watching this for the first time, he used to do this from his BMW. That's how sermon from the German started.
We're still calling it sermon from the German.
And you know what? It's still a good name. We're good. Once in a while, you do it for the BMW or something, right? But
it's just I can't get a good signal from when I do it outside. Yeah. I thought I would be able to connect to my home network, but it doesn't really work. So that's kind of why I've avoided doing it. But I might try it again soon.
Yeah, well, the next time I told you this, I'm waiting for you to go live again on Instagram. There was one time you were at a car show and you were like live, and I said, I don't want to bother him. Like, I didn't want to like click and go, hey, it's me. How you doing? You're like, no, next time bother me. I'm like,
absolutely.
I'm like, we'll get all the fans. We'll put it through the thing and stuff. But no, I love your channel. We want to thank you for being one of the most gracious hosts on our channel as well,
and sharing
you give a lot and sharing your stuff with us, which is
and I want to congratulate you guys, because again, my mind was blown earlier when you mentioned that when I was first on your show, you had 700 subscribers, and we're talking today just barely 2 years later, and you're sitting at 70,000 and just rocketing at warp speed, as we can see from the background. Then
it's your show that's doing that. It's your show.
It's all you, man. We don't do anything.
But all power to you guys. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think what you've done is tremendous, and I think that just Godspeed, just grow. It's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, you grow. We want you with us. You're like our mentor there in the beginning. You were like, do this, do that, and now it's kind of like we're almost at a parody. It's like we say, like, because there's some stuff you'll say, how did you do that? And we like give you ideas back. So now it's like the student teaching the master, which is kind of nice in a way.
This is what we were talking about earlier. There is no student master in this game. I think we're all
not anymore.
We're all learning on this journey. Yeah, we're all learning together. And if you stop learning, then you failed, basically.
No, but this is
I'm about to take on the role of master.
Oh yeah. Killjoy's going to kill it.
It's time for medication.
It's time for his medication. Before you kill the show, for everybody, you can catch Brown Car Guy on YouTube at Brown Car Guy. It's relatively simple. If you need help with the spelling, the links will be below. Or you're on the hat. I mean, it's like not that difficult. He also has a called Hypercar. If I'm not mistaken, a playlist on our channel. This show is called Sermon from the German on our playlist. Also, if you want to catch this on podcasting, Two Old Farts Making Noises podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts, Google, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, you name it, we're there. And he's here once a month. So if you have questions for him, feel free to let us know. We will get them to you. If you want to advertise on his show, reach out to the Jew and I will negotiate a deal. Because this way he'll make a few shekels, because God forbid he doesn't have another Star Trek ship in the background next time we see him.
Right.
And there you go.
And if there's any freebies on the show, don't even bother to send them to me. That's all.
David,
He's not gonna let go.
Never. Here's what's really bad though. You've sent me a book, which I loved it, read it.
Oh, the book.
The book. I've got an artist from Canadian Art Today not only sent me a book that he wrote with pictures, which I should probably give it to David, of his art, but he gave me a painting of a crow, which is over there. And then there was another guest we had. Michael Collins has given us books. This other guy named Corey.com has given us not only ebooks, he's given everybody in the US on Lost Dollar Business Club. So I think I've got like 10 books from guests and a few pieces of art.
Thank you.
And David Scott up guests.
I think the heartburn is kicking in there. I think that's what's
No, it's the salt that's getting rubbed into the wound.
Yeah, well.
Thank you, guys.
But you did get that painting from Rusty behind you. So there you go.
I did.
There you go. So stop whining. I got
Thanks a lot.
Anyway, have a wonderful day, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.